to everybody about my beginning journey of IVF. So I'm gonna give a little bit of a backstory. I know this video is for mostly friends and family, but feel free to share it with anybody that you think would benefit from this. My name is Carrie, and my husband Chris and I are gonna be starting our journey with IVF. Technically, we've already kind of started. I'm decided to do these videos a little bit after we've already been through a couple appointments and things. And one of the reasons that I'm starting the video is because a lot of our friends and family are interested in what's happening, and we want to make sure everybody's on the same page. We don't mind talking about it, but we don't necessarily want to have to tell the same thing to 1,000 people. So I thought the easiest thing would be to start these videos, to start this vlog, and just keep everybody up to date. The other reason is that it's been kind of a hard decision on how much to let people know. I think that there's a lot of maybe shame that comes with starting IVF, and people kind of don't know how much to tell people, don't know how much people are going to accept IVF and what it is. So I want to be open and honest about our journey, and I want to clear up any misconceptions that Christians may have about IVF. And then the third reason that we're doing these videos is because we want our future children hopefully to see kind of the journey that we went on to have them, and how much we love them, and how much we wanted them. And they can kind of hopefully someday look at these videos and see how they were prayed for and desired from before they were even, anything. And so that's kind of why we're doing these videos. So to give even more backstory, my husband and I got married 2 years ago. We had a beautiful wedding, and we love each other so much, and we are a little bit older, and we kind of expected to have maybe some issues having children. To our surprise, we did not. We got pregnant pretty immediately after our wedding. Well, technically we had 2 weddings because we got married in April of 2020, and we had to have a backyard wedding, which was gorgeous. And then we had our big wedding that we paid lots of money for in September. And we got pregnant with our son Carter in December. And so we had an exciting pregnancy, and we had a beautiful baby boy, and we named him Carter. And then in February, we actually lost him, and it was a genetic disease called Leigh syndrome. And so after that whole ordeal, we found out that basically if we were to have more children, they would all have a 25% chance that they would also have this genetic disorder, which is a death sentence. And so our only option for growing our family became IVF. If we are to get pregnant naturally, we would have to wait until about 15 weeks of pregnancy before we would be able to find out if our child had the same genetic disorder as Carter. So I'm going to do a whole another video about Carter and kind of explain everything that happened and explain what Leigh syndrome is. And so if you're interested in that and you're not up to date on Carter, then you can watch that video. But fast forward to today, we knew pretty early on after Carter's passing that we would probably have to get started. It was our understanding that IVF is a long journey, and then plus another 9 months of pregnancy. We didn't want to wait around, even though we are still grieving Carter. We know that we want more children, and we know that it's not an easy process. It's not a short process, and so we went ahead and got started and had our first consultation with our doctor. And because we are in the situation of not having fertility issues, It has been fairly quick in certain terms. It doesn't feel quick, but we don't have a lot of other hoops to jump through before going ahead and starting egg retrieval. So the main steps that we were given in our kind of beginning journey is that we both just kind of had to be looked at and made sure that there weren't going to be any infertility surprises. And then my first procedure is called a hysteroscopy, and that's just kind of looking at the uterus, making sure there's no tears, making sure there's no polyps, making sure that everything's good, because we want an embryo to implant into the uterus. So that all is kind of preliminary stuff. And then the next step is a egg retrieval, in which they'll go in and retrieve eggs, and then they will fertilize those eggs with Chris's sperm. And then after 5 days, they'll know how many embryos, really, because it'll be a fertilized egg, and we'll know kind of how many are viable and how many they have, and then those will be tested for what Carter had. And so then we will know how many embryos we are dealing with, and then after that, they can do a transfer of healthy embryos to me, and hopefully from there we will have a pregnancy. So there's a lot that can go in, that seems like a few little steps, but there's a lot involved with each step. So I'm going to make videos going through the process, but this first one also is to talk about the fact that I'm a Christian and I love Jesus, and there can be some misconceptions, there can be some really big questions that come along with doing IVF as a Christian. And luckily, we have had some amazing friends who have come to talk to us and who have encouraged us and helped us understand the process itself, but also as other Christians, talk to us about, like, is this, God's will? Is this something that is right as a Christian? Or is it God telling you that you are not supposed to have kids, that you need to foster, you need to adopt? And these are big questions, and these are serious questions that people have. And it was something that I personally had actually felt before I got pregnant, was, if we have trouble having kids, then that's God's way of telling us that we should adopt, that we should foster, and that I'm gonna take that as my, plan from God, and that I didn't want to do IVF. I said, I will absolutely not do IVF, because that is just, you're not listening to God telling you that he wants something else for you. And so, of course, God shows us where we're wrong all the time. And I now see that IVF is used for more than just infertility, and that it is a scientific, development that allows people who love Jesus to have kids and to raise them as Christians, and to raise them as kids who love God and love Jesus. And so I think that it's definitely a blessing from God, and that it can be used as such. Also, just like many other common blessings from God, other scientific things, people abuse it. People are definitely, using it to have a specific gender. People want to use it to, have to do whatever, that there are things there that are probably not what I would consider biblical, and not trusting God's will. But that's not Chris and I. That's not me at all. And so I feel that IVF is a completely plausible way for us to grow our family and still be within God's plan for us and God's will for us. Now, does that mean that it will work? I mean, that's still up to God. But I have no feelings now that we shouldn't do it. And I definitely feel in my heart as of right now that God will bless us with more kids. And what that looks like, I'm not sure. I'm hoping it is a pregnancy through IVF, and not, something else, but that's just my want right now. And I know that if it's going to change, that God will change my heart. And so I'm trusting God in this process. Now, a little bit about the process of IVF, and to explain how God is still 100% in this process. And He is still 100% God of all things that will decide whether or not we will have a child. You cannot take God out of this process. After the embryos are fertilized, they are 5 days old. This is most women will not know if they were pregnant. You wouldn't even test positive on a pregnancy test at this stage. It's very possible that there are times that you could be this pregnant and then your body miscarries and you don't even know. Because if the embryo is not viable, if it's not an embryo that is going to succeed, then most likely your body will get rid of it. So because it's a scientific process, we're looking at things way earlier than most people, are used to looking at it. Most people are finding out they're pregnant at 6, 7, 8 weeks pregnant, sometimes even later. And so we're way past this part of the process. And so that being said, I definitely think God is still in the process, because once the embryo is put into the uterus, there's no guarantees that it will implant and that it will become a pregnancy. So this is still up to God, and we are still giving it to Him and praying that He makes us successful and that He gives us another child. So for people who think that it's not, oh, we're trying to play God, we're trying to take it into our own hands. Not any more than when you have sex with your husband and hope for a baby. It is the same hope. We are hoping to get pregnant. We just have a little bit different of a process. And I can talk more about some of these things if people have questions, or if you have questions, you can always ask us what is going on some of those things. But that's kind of where we're at. We had our consultation. I also had my hysteroscopy already, and that's just, everything was good so far. We have an upcoming appointment where hopefully we will find out our timeline going forward, and starting some of the medicines and the shots. And that is kind of where we're at, and I hope to continue making videos explaining our process so that you can be part of it with us, and so that hopefully you can hear more about how God is in this process, and how God is working in our lives, and how He's going to bring His plan to fruition through us. And whatever that means, we accept that. And so we have our hopes and we have our prayers, and we accept any of your prayers for us, for a child, and that God blesses us again with that. But we're in His hands, and His plan is the best plan. So whatever that is what we hope for. My next video is going to be about Carter, and I'm going to explain everything that happened with him and his diagnosis. So if you're interested in that, then you can watch that video. Otherwise, our next one will be after the appointment that we have with our doctor, and laying out our next plan. So we look forward to the possibility of having a child, and we look forward to the journey that we're on. It is scary, and we have lots of fears, but we're gonna be there for each other, and hopefully everything will go smoothly. Thanks for watching, and we will talk to you later.